over the map. I mean, Renda brokered money into 130 savings and loans. Beebe controlled at least 20 financial institutions in Louisiana and Texas.
And did they take over the savings and loans and therefore use the assets for their different projects, so when they went broke, they could just cut and run because their depositors would be insured by the FDIC? Is that how it worked? Or did they take big loans out from these S&Ls, from their projects, with the intention of never paying it back?
Well, they did it very subtly. I mean, it wasn't like Beebe would go in and buy a savings and loan, or Renda. I mean, they controlled them, yes, but it was 2 or 3 layers removed. For instance, look at Vernon Savings. That's a very famous example, Don Dixon. Dixon bought Vernon Savings with a loan from M-Bank in Dallas, but Herman K. Beebe guaranteed that loan and arranged it so that Dixon was really beholden to Beebe for the money. And in fact, Beebe had an option to buy equity in the S&L because of his guarantee of the bank loan. Okay, so here Dixon is the figurehead. In fact, Dixon had it arranged later that he wasn't even on the board of directors or appeared in any of the Vernon, stockholders report or anything like that. He had his company in the forefront. So even he was insulated from one layer. So he had this company called Dondi Financial that owned Vernon. Then you look behind that, and that's Dixon that owns Dondi Financial. And then you look behind Dixon, and you see Herman K. Beebe, manipulating him. And then you look behind Beebe, and you find the Mafia and the CIA.
And what would be in a way that they would actually scam money from the S&L? What would Beebe and his Mafia CIA connections do to get the money out of the S&Ls for their own purposes?
It was basically one way. They got loans.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a home loan, a $100,000 home loan. This is like $20 million loan on raw land, okay, that might be worth $1 million. And they've got all these grandiose plans. They're going to build a shopping center here and blah, blah, blah. And therefore, say the land was worth $1 million. And Beebe's buddy owned the land, okay? So Beebe would get an appraisal of $3 million. And that's where the cheating really occurred in the appraisal process. And I'm just astonished that the Justice Department has not really gone after the appraisers more to get them and then flip them and make them turn state's evidence, because that's where the real cheating went on. That's how you cheat. You got a piece of, and it's so easy to do in real estate because you've got all of this ambiguity about land values. You've got all this flex. So here's a piece of property that's worth $1 million. You go out and you pay somebody $10,000 to say it's worth $3 million. So you've just stolen $2 million. And as simple as that. And if the FBI comes after you, you say, "Oh, this appraisal said he said it's worth $3 million. I mean, I'm a honest businessman. I got to go what the appraiser said." So Beebe gets a $20 million loan, or one of his associates usually gets a $20 million loan from an S&L that Beebe controls, like Vernon, behind the scenes. $20 million on a piece of property that's worth $1 million. He pays his buddy that owns it $3 million, okay? And then he says, "I've got $17 million, I'm going to develop this." So he goes out and he might put a street in or two to look like and then he takes the rest and he's adios. He's gone. He's just stolen $19 million, okay? And what are you going to do,
We're just not talking about the S&Ls alone involved with the CIA and the Mafia. There are some banks, regular commercial banks involved.
Absolutely, there are. I think Pete's already mentioned at least one in Kansas City. There are several around the country where several of these same figures and others involved in similar activities were engaged in CIA mob-related operations. And the fear is, I think, that there are going to be more, that the same things that we've seen as a result of deregulation of the S&Ls may very well come about when the banks are deregulated, which is the current proposal on the table. The theory being, I guess it worked so well with the S&Ls, why not try it again?
Which is unbelievable that
Yeah.
they would contemplate that with the grotesqueness of the failure of these S&Ls.
Pete, can you tell us a bit about how you developed this story, the inside story about how the reporter came up with this? And
Well,
some